Our next guest wins his congressional race. He's going to be the first African-American ever to represent the great state of New Hampshire in Congress. He's running as a Republican in the Granite State's 1st District. He's a former police chief. He's a Navy veteran, and he has earned the backing of Donald Trump, President of the United States. He is a proud conservative, and he says he's tired of all the division in this country. Please welcome to the Van Jones Show, Eddie Edwards in the house. Hey, welcome to see you, man.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Really, really good. I'm glad that you're here. Tell me why, as somebody who's already given so much, you're police chief, a veteran, why are you choosing to run?
Continual service. You know, when I look at where our country is, I want to make sure that we start to unite our country again. And I believe the best way to do that is start to electing people of character, start to elect people who've actually served this nation, not from a political standpoint, but from a place of commitment, sacrifice. And I think that's what it's going to take to really heal our country and bring us together.
Well, you know, the times feel divisive. That was what you just said is a good description of you. It doesn't always feel like a good description of the president in terms of somebody who served, somebody who sacrificed, all those kind of things. How do you square that in your own mind? Because you know that's what people are thinking.
No, and I get that. This is one of the things that I think we have to really think about as a country, right? Yeah. So we start off on the negative. So we don't want to pay attention to the fact that 63 million fellow Americans voted for the president. They heard his message. They believed in his message. And I was one of those folks. And we voted for him. So to dismiss the president, to attack the president, is in a sense attacking the other 63 million fellow Americans. And if we're ever to bring our country together, we have to start relationships. We have to start talking to one another. And we can't start off on a negative tone.
Yeah. Well, right now, the president's closing argument is Kavanaugh and the caravan. As you're trying to figure out how to bring people together, is that your closing argument? And if your closing argument isn't Kavanaugh and the caravan, what is your closing argument?
Well, my closing argument is this. We're all Americans. We all want the same thing. We're a constitutional republic. We believe in sacrifice. We believe in family. We believe in unity. We believe in giving back to our communities. That's what this is all about. That's what makes us different as Americans. We believe in giving back to our communities and our families. And I think what you start to see in this country is a great division. And that division is caused by people intentionally trying to divide us. Intentionally trying to divide us. I'll give you the best example was this young man recently who was in a store. His backpack grazed the backside of a woman.
Right.
And she said he sexually assaulted her.
Right.
But what happens to that young man who's crying outside with his little sister and his mother if there's no cameras around? So I think we have to be very deliberate in trying to bring our country together, not further dividing it.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk about a couple of issues because, again, the way that you sound, the way that you talk is not really the way that Trump sounds when he talks. And so I do feel like I'm trying to figure you out.
I'm not being attacked every day. That's right. I'm not being attacked every day. Not yet. But I think if we look at the president, and I want to go back to this because I think it's important. If the president is successful, we're successful as a nation.
Yes.
So we have to respect the institution.
Well, if he's successful at doing positive things, we're successful as a nation.
Well, that's
good. Let's walk through some of these issues that are the tougher issues. Look, I think it's good for you to underscore, and I think it's healthy to underscore the desire to respect everybody and for unity.
Sure.
And that's a good place to start and a good place to stop. But there are some of these issues that are just tough. You mentioned that young guy with the backpack. Do you feel like anti-black racism is still a problem in America today?
Well, I can tell you that there's no question that there are racial conflict issues around the country. But you look at a state like New Hampshire. This is why I love our state, right? It's live free or die. It's a Granite State. And it's what our founders believed in. It's what our entire country was set up upon. It's freedom. And so when I look at our state, 93% white. Conservatives, moderate-leaning folks in that state, a lot of independent voters in that state. I was selected to be the Republican nominee. Look, in a state that has 1% black population. Well, look, so in our state, we don't practice that.
So are you saying that anti-black racism is not a problem in New Hampshire?
I'm saying there are individual people, maybe in New Hampshire and perhaps across this country. But the notion that America is a racist nation, I think defies statistics and logic.
But you don't see systemic issues when it comes to racism?
I think we're closer than we realize. Right? So when I look at my mother, my grandmother, women in my life who influenced me. I raised 2 daughters. I have a wonderful wife. And so when I look at what they think, my mother has 3 boys and 1 girl. I know she's proud of all of us, different courses of life. But when I start to think about this, and I think, what do we say to a white mother who has white sons? What do we say to a black mother who has black sons? What do we say to a Hispanic mother who has Hispanic sons?
What do we say?
I think we want to treat them all the same. I'm a father of 2 daughters. I want my daughters to have the same opportunities as everyone else, regardless of their skin color, regardless of their sexual orientation, their gender.
Let me walk through a couple other issues that tend to divide. Let's talk about guns.
Okay, let's talk about guns.
So, would you repeal the Brady Act? Would you get the federal government completely out of the gun business? Or yes or no? Should the federal government play a role in making sure that guns are regulated?
That's 2 separate questions that you just asked me about. First, the background checks. People support background checks, right, before you purchase a weapon. That's fine. When people start talking about universal background checks, I think that steers into an area people don't really understand.
Help me understand something. I think a lot of progressives don't understand.
Sure.
There is a concern, and you're afraid that I don't understand it, and I don't, that somehow that if you do background checks, that you may wind up with a quote-unquote gun registry. And for when you say gun registry, Republicans get real upset. And in my mind, I don't understand what is the fear. What is the fear that conservatives have that the federal government might have a list of who's got guns? Like, why is that such a terrifying idea?
Well, let's put it this way. What's important to you? Like, give me one thing that's important to you, and we keep your name on a registry. Let's say...
comic books are important to me. I'm serious.
Okay. Well, we're not going to put you on a registry for that. But when you have constitutional protected rights...
But what is the fear? What do you think?
Because we restrain our government. We don't restrain citizens. This is what this is all about. We don't restrain citizens. We hold citizens accountable. We restrain our government because we can't hold our government accountable. Name one time government's been held accountable for something that's done towards citizens.
I mean, they get sued all the time and have to pay out stuff.
Well, that's not accountability. We incarcerate citizens, right, when we hold them accountable. So we restrain government.
I understand. Listen,
and we protect citizens.
That's good language. But I'm still confused. I'm not being adversarial. I'm desperately trying to understand. My show is about understanding, not about...
Now I appreciate that.
And so I'm desperately trying... Is the fear that, if they know who has the guns and they'll come and shoot people or arrest people or take their guns? What is it? Because that's in the way of a whole lot of progress, brother.
It's no more complicated than this. We live in the United States of America. We have a Constitution. Your rights are protected. We restrain the government. It's no more complicated than that. And when you say to a citizen, we need to keep you on a list, we need to monitor you, our country is not set up that way.
So it's almost like a principled, philosophical almost thing. It's not like you're scared that the government's just going to come and grab all the guns on Wednesday if they have a list. That's not true.
See, this is what I mean by why we don't have a common understanding, right?
Right.
Because we have to have a common understanding of the Constitution. The Constitution is designed to ensure the citizens' rights are protected. And once we start separating that and start believing, like, well, if you haven't done anything wrong, you have anything to worry about. That's not America.
I got one last question for
you,
which I think is a question that we probably have a lot in common on, which is the question of opioids.
Yes.
One of my very close friends died of an opioid overdose and is killing people all over the place. I know it's a big problem in your state, and we just had a big bipartisan vote to do something about it. What more needs to be done to stop this epidemic of people, and not just opioids, all these things, meth and everything else is killing people?
Absolutely. I think one of the things that we miss in this conversation is we're drugging our young people in this country. So we have children growing up in this country, never experiencing life without the benefit of medication in their systems. So it becomes very easy to pop a pill, take a pill. And 75 to 80% of people who started with first-time heroin users this time started with a prescription drug. Yeah. So we have to make sure that we're doing right by our young people, make sure that their people are held accountable, make sure we go back to the pharmaceutical companies, ask them to pay, because once you're addicted to these opiates, it's a lifelong struggle. That means taxpayers are footing the bill for that. I think we should go back to the pharmaceutical companies and ask them to start paying some of this cost.
Well, that's one thing we agree on, and I'm going to have you back.
Common ground.
Common ground. Common ground. It shouldn't always be a battleground. This show is really about understanding, not about me trying to win the fight. I want to understand you more, and I want to understand better. I want to wish you good luck in your race, and when we come back, could a whole wave of military veterans running for Congress as Democrats be a secret weapon for the other